This is the Louie T Network.
Man, I love some football. Man, I love some football. My favorite week is week 1, cause I'm watching football. First comes the preseason, and I don't take a day off. And then it gets even better when your team makes the playoffs. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. 32 teams go hard for one thing. They work for one thing. That Super Bowl ring. We in the lab room.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome, you are in the lab room. Of course, I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 2 in the National Football League. New Orleans Saints traveling out to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Both teams coming off of late game heartbreaking field goal losses. Saints losing to the Falcons last week in Atlanta. Browns losing in Pittsburgh in a barn burner. So both of these teams feeling a little salty after those late game losses, looking to avenge them in week number 2. Let's talk about this football game and jump straight into the proceedings this evening. Saints go 3 and out in their first 2 possessions, including a sack that almost went for a safety by Paul Kruger and a bad snap that went over the head of Drew Brees. They struggled offensively in this game, and can't say that I was surprised. I just was surprised at how long they struggled for. I expected the Browns to be able to get pressure. And remember, I talked about this in the preview, how I wasn't comfy cozy about this game and how it made me a little nervous because we've seen this movie before. Remember, I gave you a couple of examples of how the Saints struggle on the road. I talked about that Rams game last year. I also talked about that Jets game last year and how teams that can apply pressure to the quarterback gave this Saints team fits on the road. Well, add the Cleveland Browns to that discussion as they got after Drew Brees early and often in this football game. So because of that bad start by the Saints, the Browns found themselves with excellent field position a lot early in this game. Browns capitalized off of some of that field position, and they capitalized off of a pass interference penalty on Patrick Robinson. You'll hear his name called quite a bit in the beginning of this game as he struggled to make plays and just stay out of the way in this game. Pass interference gives them a fresh set of downs, and they end up having a 4th and 1 situation. Terrence West picks it up. Scared money don't make money. Love the fact that Mike Patton was willing to roll the dice there and not just take a cop out and kick a field goal. They pick up the first down. They end up getting in the end zone via a 6-yard Miles Austin touchdown grab on Patrick Robinson. And so it's 7-0 Browns early in this game. After some more great field position by the Cleveland Browns, they move down the field, get in the field goal range, and Billy Cundiff, it's hard for me to say his name because he's such a choker and a gagger. He misses a chip shot field goal. However, Patrick Robinson, does that name sound familiar to you? Lines up in the neutral zone, gives them a fresh set of downs, and so they're able to get closer, send Billy Cundiff back out on the field. This time he connects. It's now 10-0, Saints down in this football game. We move on to the second quarter. Saints finally get on the board via the ground game. A couple of big gains on the ground, one by Mark Ingram, the other by Brandon Cooks. Sets up a field goal attempt. As the Saints finally get on the board, it's 10-3 at this point in the game. Big play in the game. Young, very talented safety, one of the best young safeties in the league, Tashawn Gibson, picks off an errant Drew Brees offering and takes it the distance as he makes a house call and gets into the end zone. Drew Brees struggled mightily early in this game, and this was a huge play, giving the Browns free points. He takes it to the house. It's now 16-3. You're supposed to tack on this extra point. These are supposed to be freebies. Browns botched the extra point, and so it's 16-3. Those extra points, they proved to be costly, and every time you look up at the scoreboard in a close game and see that extra point that you're missing, it normally is a sore spot. And so we'll talk about that extra point a little bit later on, but it's 16-3 right now. Browns enjoying a 2-touchdown lead in this game. Brees and Jimmy Graham finally start to get on the same page, and it's awkward because here we are, late stages of the second quarter, and Jimmy Graham, he's a man, doesn't have a catch in this game. And you know, that kind of speaks to the struggles of the Saints early in this game. If Jimmy Graham isn't getting involved in the offense, you have a problem because he's your best target. He doesn't get the football, you have a problem. And the Saints were having problems offensively in this game. And it's not a coincidence that the issues offensively started to wane as Jimmy Graham got involved in this game. And so on this possession, Jimmy Graham gets involved, and I mean in a major way. Having no catches prior to this possession, he has not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 catches on this possession. The 5th being a 9-yard jump ball TD in the end zone with 3 seconds left right before the half. So that was a huge drive by Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham. He's a man. And this Saints offense and this football team, for that matter, to get on the board with a touchdown, cut this Browns lead in half. Now they're only down 6 as we get into the halftime break. 10-16, Browns up. But that extra point seems to be looming large. But right now, you're still looking at that in the peripheral. It's not a big deal. You're still up. So we go on to the third quarter. Mark Ingram is the catalyst for the first touchdown drive of the second half of this Saints team as he's running the football tough. And some bad news for Mark Ingram as he injured himself in this game, going to miss some time with this Saints football team. And I feel like he's the best pure running back they have on this team. Want to see him be more involved. He's going to have to wait for that opportunity as he's going to be on the shelf for a little while. But in this game, on this particular possession, he was huge. Set up a 3rd and goal situation from the 1-yard line in which Drew Brees finds Jimmy Graham in the end zone. Jimmy Graham, he's a man for his 2nd touchdown of the game. Browns take their first lead in this game at 17-16. The Browns don't waste any time striking back. They respond with a 14-play, 80-yard drive in which Terrence West, wake up Mr. West, Mr. West, Terrence West starts getting it going on the ground and gets in from 9 yards out to give the Browns back the lead in this game at 23-17. We move from there into the fourth quarter. Saints answer immediately to that Browns touchdown with a touchdown of their own. It's a very balanced drive, a little bit of pass, a little bit of run, and Mark Ingram puts the period on that possession with a 2-yard touchdown, gets in the end zone, and Saints reassume the lead at 24-23. Now, come on. You can't tell me that that extra point isn't gnawing at you right now as you look up at the scoreboard in the fourth quarter, see the Saints leading by 1, knowing that this game should be tied at 24, and you should not be trailing. So if you're a Browns fan, you're kicking yourself. You're wondering if that extra point that was botched is going to be your undoing in this game. Carlos Dansby with a monumental sack as the Saints were looking to bleed the clock. If they pick up one more first down, this game is effectively over. But he gets in, gets the sack, forces the Saints to have to punt the football one final time, and that one final time would be all the Browns would need to try and win this game. It's all they got left. And so they move the ball down the field as Billy Ho and his offense tries to get on track. They find themselves in a 4th down situation, and of all people, Billy Ho finds Gary Barnidge. Gary Barnidge, one of your backup tight ends that's more of a blocking tight end than anything else, catches the football and converts a fourth down to keep the drive and the game alive for the Browns. Browns continue to move the football down the field, find themselves in a third down situation in a bunch formation, and somehow, some way, the Saints manage to botch the defensive call. Nobody covers Andrew Hawkins as he runs a corner route wide open. Billy Hope finds him. There was a penalty for holding defensively on the play. They decline it as Andrew Hawkins gets 29 on the play to set up a chip shot field goal for Billy Cundiff. And because they are so close, Billy Cundiff is able to come in and knock home the game-winning field goal as the Cleveland Browns and head coach Mike Pettin get their first victory of the 2014 season, 26-24. What a game. Another debilitating loss for the New Orleans Saints as they fell behind early, battled back, took the lead, had this game, and let it slip through their fingers. Now they're 0-2, looking for some home cooking as they go home to take on the Minnesota Vikings. They need a win in the worst way. Meanwhile, the Browns are ecstatic. They're elated to get this W after having a heartbreaking loss a week ago at Pittsburgh. They come home and feel the exact opposite of the feeling they felt a week ago when they dropped that game at the end. They get one at the end as head coach Mike Pettin gets his first career victory in the NFL as a head coach. Congratulations. He has this team playing some football. You know I got a huge coach crush on Mike Pettin. Love that guy, and I love the way he has this Browns football team playing right now. And so, Browns are 1-1. That's going to do it for the wrap-up of Browns hosting the Saints. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Come back and join me as I've got a couple more games to break down in week number 2 with the National Football League. See you in a bit.